prosperous new year. However, for President Muhammadu Buhari, no one but the entire nation deserves such a seasonal compliment, and this is how they did it together.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And if you must know, President Muhammadu Buhari does not extend such a privilege to his Muslim aides at similar religious festivities. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Still on Yuletide season, Speaker House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara has urged Nigerians to imbibe the spirit of season, which is love of God for humanity. While advising Nigerians to be steadfast in prayers for the country, the Speaker noted the love of God for humanity brought Christ, noted that the love of God for humanity brought Christ for the ultimate goal of redemption for mankind. Yakubu Dogara wished faithful, a peaceful and joyful celebration, urging them to reflect the selfless love in their dealings with others by sharing both the have with the needy and less privileged in society. And now to security matters. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Ibrahim Idris, has ordered the deployment of police officers throughout the country to ensure hitch-free Christmas and New Year celebrations. In a statement by the Force Public Relations Officer DCP Jimo Mashud, directed Assistant Inspector General of Police, Commissioners of Police to be on ground to deploy police officers on crime prevention and visibility patrols, crowd control at places of worship, recreation centers, critical infrastructure, public and private facilities. The police boss added that Federal Highway Patrol teams, anti-crime patrol, have also been deployed along highways and major roads across the country for the safety of travelers. Intense surveillance and intelligence gathering personnel will be deployed to stop and search people at all flashpoints in all states of the country. The IGP, however, felicitate with Nigerians, especially Christians, across the country, urging them to practice the virtues of Jesus Christ by propagating peace, love, forgiveness, and harmonious relationship with one another. Still in the spirit of Christmas, hope of over 500 widows, single mothers, and less privileged who have resigned their faith in celebrating Christmas without food and new clothes are rekindled in Abeokuta, courtesy of Magistrate Oketola Sam Obaleye, founder of Tower Foundation. Anthony Gandon reports that the event put in place by an Egba philanthropist is a total women empowerment and reorientation initiative.
Soko came to these widows, single mothers, and less privileged, numbering over 500 in Abeokuta, as they come to benefit from the good gesture of a philanthropist, Magistrate Oketola Sam Obaleye, and Egba daughter.
I mean, I'm happy, but at least for tomorrow, my children will be happy too.
The beneficiaries were full of joy and praises for the smile put in on their faces by the president and founder of Tower Foundation, a non-governmental organization. Alaki of Egbaland, Oba Adedotun Ademugba, at the occasion commended the Egba daughter for sharing with the less privileged in the society the joy of Yuletide. The founder, Tower Foundation, Magistrate Oketola Sam Obaleye, described the event as a grand finale of our monthly empowerment of women, widows in Egbaland.
I just thought, okay, let me make the Christmas a merry one for them. Let us share out of the little that the Lord has blessed us with.
Calling on other well-meaning individuals and the society to join hands to reduce poverty, the program initiation promised to always impact positively on the women folks in the society.
In the meantime, less than 24 hours to the celebration of this year's Christmas, potential customers have flooded major markets in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, to shop for items needed for the festivity. Correspondent Muhammad Adibawale, who visited livestock markets, reports that the economic situation in the country did not stop the people from preparing for the Christmas celebration.
Kutu and Lafayette market in Abeokuta area of Ogun State are now smiling as they begin to record sales on a positive note. Less than 24 hours to Christmas celebration, farmers told Nta Abeokuta News Crew that though they expect more patronage, but were happy residents of the metropolis still has the purchasing power to buy.
Actually, right now, market is rowdy. People are here to buy fowls. Like some are buying in a few, some are buying large quantities. So right now, our market is almost finished. By in 2 hours, we sell everything finished. So people are here buying and selling.
Actually, it's moving. We thank God, but I believe we'll get there.
Despite the world minute served as hike in the price of birds, which range from 4,000 naira to 6,500 naira, still situation at other major markets did not reflect the economic situation of the country, as Ali could one at a place to lay his fruit in the market. However, some customers were disappointed as the budget could not commensurate with the demand on sale.
To the market, and the first place that I stand to buy the fowl, it was too costly, so I have to move around to see the difference between the price. I was told it's 2.5, but it's not. It doesn't weigh at all. But
meanwhile, situation at motor parks located within the metropolis depicts that the festivity has begun.
On my way to Shagamu, still 400 naira is the same. There is no increment or decrease. Normal price.
The ticket of 400 naira, which is still the normal price.
There's no difference between this year and last year. We normally carry our passenger the transport fee we used to carry since January. No inflation of price.
Nigerians, especially Christians, were however attached to celebrate with caution and exhibit the lessons associated with the season in their daily lives. In Abeokuta, Muhammad Adibowale, NT News.
In the meantime, the sustenance of the synergy between the military, paramilitary, and the civilians has been described as catalyst to winning the war against all forms of insecurity across the country. The General Officer commanding 81 Division, Major General Sonny Yusuf, stated this at the West African Social Activities WASA 2018, organized by the 25 Artillery Brigade and 351 Artillery Regiment, Alamala Barracks, Abeokuta. Correspondent Lukman Adefeso was at the event, and his report is presented from our studio.
Dated back to the pre-colonial era, the West Africa Social Activities WASA celebration by the military signaled the end of a successful training and operation of each formation in the Nigerian Army. It was also organized then by the colonial authorities to grant the request of soldiers to participate in their cultural activities due to the diverse cultural inclination of Western African soldiers. This year's WASA celebration, organized by the 35 Artillery Brigade and 351 Brigade Regiment, was filled with excitement, featuring activities ranging from cultural dance by different ethnic groups within the barracks, tug of war, among others. The General Officer commanding 81 Division, Major General Sonny Yusuf, noted that WASA enables personnel, their family members, and well-wishers to socialize, build harmonious relationship.
As the General Officer commanding, I want to sincerely appreciate you for identifying the 35 Artillery Brigade. Of course, that is what is expected of all of us. We cannot do it individually, but as a group, I'm sure there's nothing we cannot achieve. I want to urge you all to sustain the relationship we are established. We must continue to work together And you must also continue to socialize together any opportunity you have, like the one we just had here.
The commander at 35 Artillery Brigade, Nta Abeokuta Brigadier General Olanigi Olatunde corroborated the GOC, promising to always prioritize the welfare of officers in the brigade to ensure that they carry out their constitutional duties in accordance with the mandates of the Nigerian Army.
Besides this, to take officers and soldiers away from the routine of the general life to the atmosphere where they unwind and relax freely with one another as well as their own communities.
This program has actually created a platform for the high and low in the barrack to appreciate each other, celebrate, each other, especially at this moment.
The campfire was lighted by the GOC as part of the activities climaxing the celebration.
Sincerely apologize for the typographic error on one of the brigades. It is 35 Artillery Brigade and not 25. Moving on now, the week-long activities marking the 2018 Press Week of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Ogun State Council, has ended with a call on journalists to uphold the ethics of the profession and brace up for the 2019 general elections. Correspondent Ayuade Elegbede, who was at the gala and award night, has details of that report.
2018 Press Week of the Ogun Nigerian Union of Journalists came to an end on a liberal note. There wasn't any dull moment with the pen professionals as well as guests who wine and dined even as they were thrilled with music. At the event, individuals who have made their marks in their chosen profession were honored while some media practitioners were decorated as NUJ ambassadors. Some of the awardees speak.
They are the ones that normally, do our marketing. And I believe they are one of four because without them, nobody is going to know whether you have 110 political parties. Nobody will be able to articulate your manifestos.
Well, it came as a surprise because I think I was area postal manager for 2 years. So, and I think we had a good working relationship when I was area postal manager. So the award came as a surprise because I left the state about 2 years ago.
The community is appreciating what we are doing in Funab. We are being rewarded for doing certain things positively. And with that, we are happy about the award.
For the fact that my own profession, the leadership, membership, and fellow of my own profession decided to honor me. I am extremely delighted.
They called on journalists in the States and across Nigeria to uphold the ethics of the profession, especially as the 2019 general elections is fast approaching. They are of the opinion that being the bridge between the government and the governed, their reportage mustn't be biased. The chairman organizing committee of the 2018 Press Week described the week-long event as memorable.
He has told us what we should do during and after the 2019 general election. That we should always be truthful. We should not be biased. So that we tell the people that we're shaping the society.
In Abeokuta, Ayuade Elegbede, Nta News.
In our sports, the 19th National Sports Festival was ended in Abuja, but the memory still remains fresh in the minds of both the participants and the officials. Anthony Gondono takes a look at the performance of Team Ogun at the just concluded Biennial Sports Festival.
The National Sports Festival is a biannual multi-sports event organized by the federal government through the National Sports Commission for athletes from the 36 states of the federation. Started in 1986 at the National Stadium, Surulere, Lagos, the game was originally conceived as a unifying tool with the main purpose of promoting peace and cross-cultural affiliations in Nigeria after the Nigerian Civil War in 1970. The game also served as a development and training event to aid athletes preparing for continental and international meets. On the medals table, Ogun State's contingent came 12th with 12 golds, 15 silver and 41 bronze. Sports analysts, however, comment on the team's performance.
Not too good, not too bad. If you look at not too good in the sense that Ogun State has also established a very strong pedigree for itself in National Sports Festival since 2006 when we hosted, and we hosted well. We came third. Plus or minus, it's not really a bad outing for us. It's not totally a bad outing. we've not done well. If you look at what the team that came first had in terms of medals, haulage, it's a far cry from what Ogun State has. And if you look at the amount that was actually approved for Team Ogun, which is in the region of 80 million, you would know that this is not good enough. But then the other aspect of it is this money that was approved, how much was released.
Before this year's edition, the biannual sports festival was last held 6 years ago.
And that concludes the Channel 12 News. Thanks for watching.
Aláṣẹ Muhammadu Buhari rọ àwọn olùgbàgbọ́ ní orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà láti ṣe àjọyọ̀ ọdún Kérésìmesì nínú ìfẹ́, àlàáfíà, ìtọrẹ àánú. Bákan náà ni ó sì ló kọ orin àṣàyàn orin ọdún Kérésì. Ọ̀gá àgbà pátá fún àwọn ọlọ́pàá ní orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà rọ àwọn ẹkùn gbogbo láti rí i pé ètò ààbò tó péye wà jákèjádò orílẹ̀-èdè lásìkò òṣìṣẹ́ ọdún Kérésì àti ọdún tuntun. Bí ó ṣe kù rẹ́bẹ́tẹ́ kí a ṣe àyájọ́ ọdún Kérésìmesì, àwọn òǹrajà tún yọra sí ọjà gbogbo ní ìlú Abẹ́òkúta tí ń ṣe olú ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn láti lọ ra ohun kan àbí òmíràn. Ẹ kú àṣálẹ́, àsìkò ìpalẹ̀mọ́ ọdún Kérésìmesì, ìròyìn ló ń dé sí etí ìgbọ́yín láti iléeṣẹ́ amóhùnmáwòrán ìjọba àpapọ̀ Nta Abeokuta. Mohammed Adébọ̀wálé ni oníròyìn, ìròyìn rẹ̀ lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́. Olórí orílẹ̀-èdè yìí Aláṣẹ Muhammadu Buhari ti fi ìdùnnú hàn bí ó ti ń kọrin Kérésìmesì fún àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí tí ó sì ń kí gbogbo ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà, pàápàá jùlọ àwọn Kìrìsìtẹ́nì, bí wọ́n ti ń sàmì ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ ìbí Jésù Kristi. Aláṣẹ Buhari rọ àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí láti lo àkókò náà láti gbàdúrà ìṣọ̀kan fún orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà pẹ̀lú àṣeyọrí nínú ètò ìdìbò tó ń bọ̀ lọ́nà. Ìrètí àwọn obìnrin tí wọ́n lé ní 500 tí wọ́n jẹ́ opó, ìyálọ́mọ nìkan àti àwọn tó kù díẹ̀ fún ní àwùjọ padà dìde báyìí bí adájọ́ Òkìtọ́lá Sam Ọbalẹ́yẹ ti fi oúnjẹ àti aṣọ dá wọn lọ́lá. Akọ̀ròyìn wa Anthony Galonu ló bá wọn wà níbi ètò ìrànwọ́ náà. Ó jábọ̀ ròyìn pé ọjọ́ ìdùnnú àti ìfọkànbalẹ̀ fún àwọn opó, àwọn ìyálọ́mọ àti àwọn tí ó kù díẹ̀ fún láwùjọ tí wọ́n lé ní 500 ní ìlú Abẹ́òkúta tí ń ṣe olú ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn tí wọ́n jẹ àǹfààní ètò ìnáwó sí tí adájọ́ Òkìtọ́lá Sam Ọbalẹ́yẹ ọmọ bíbí ìlú Ẹ̀gbá lóbìnrin ṣe àgbékalẹ̀ rẹ̀. Àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ àǹfààní ètò náà ni wọ́n fi ìdùnnú hàn pẹ̀lú oore ọpẹ́ lẹ́nu wọn. Ẹgbẹ́ aládàáni Nta Foundation ti mẹ́rin pa ẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ́ àwọn aláké ti ìlú Ẹ̀gbá ọba Adébọ̀tún Àyìngbádébọ̀ gbóríyìn fún ọmọbìnrin ìlú Ẹ̀gbá náà bí ó ti na ọwọ́ ìrànlọ́wọ́ sí àwọn tọ́lọ́run yàn láwùjọ ní àkókò ìdùnnú àti ayẹyẹ ọdún. Olùdásílẹ̀ ẹgbẹ́ Nta Foundation, adájọ́ Òkìtọ́lá Sam Ọbalẹ́yẹ ṣe àpèjúwe ayẹyẹ ọ̀hún gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìfilọ́lẹ̀ ètò ìrónilágbára olóṣooṣù fún àwọn obìnrin àti àwọn opó ní ìlú Ẹ̀gbá bí ó ti fi àkókò náà ké sí àwọn tọ́lọ́run bùkún fún àwùjọ láti wo àwòkọ́ṣe kí ìṣẹ́ àti òṣì lè dínkù láwùjọ. Bí ó ti kù díẹ̀ kí ọdún Kérésìmesì wọlé dé, àwọn òǹrajà ti kún fọ́fọ́ ní àwọn ọjà gbogbo ní ìlú Abẹ́òkúta tí ń ṣe olú ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn láti lọ ra ohun èlò wọn fún ọdún. akọ̀ròyìn wa jábọ̀ ròyìn pé gbogbo ọjà ló kún tí ẹsẹ̀ kò sì fẹ́ gba èrò ẹgbẹ́ ìròyìn náà síwájú sí i. àwọn àgbẹ̀ ọlọ́sìn adìẹ tí ó wà lókùtọ̀ àti ọjà aláfárá ní ìlú Abẹ́òkúta tí í ṣe olú ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn ni inú wọn dùn bí wọ́n ṣe ń tà wàràwàrà bí ó ṣe kù rébété kí a ṣe pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìnṣìn ọdún Kérésìmesì lára àwọn àgbẹ̀ náà tí wọ́n bá ikọ̀ ètò ìròyìn iléeṣẹ́ Nta Abeokuta sọ̀rọ̀ sọ wípé lótìtọ́ ni àwọn retí wípé kí ọjà wọn tètè tán kí ọdún tó dé ṣùgbọ́n àwọn nígbàgbọ́ wípé tí yóò bá fi di òwúrọ̀ kùtù àwọn ọjọ́ ọdún ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ àwọn èèyàn ni wọ́n wá sọ́jà láti wá ra adìẹ nítorí pé ó ṣe pàtàkì fún ọ láti pa adìẹ lọ́jọ́ ọdún bí ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ènìyàn ṣe ń kéré wípé owó adìẹ ti lọ sókè láti orí ibi ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́rin náírà tí ó fi lé ní ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́fà náírà síbẹ̀ tí wọ́n bá lọ sí àwọn ọjà gbogbo tí ń lọ ní ìlú Abẹ́òkúta tí ń ṣe ní ìlú ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn yóò rí wípé eléyìí kò dá àwọn èèyàn lọ́wọ́ kọ́ láti ra adìẹ àbí nǹkan àbí ìmíràn tí wọ́n fẹ́ lò fún ọdún ìgbọ́n sílẹ̀ àwọn òǹrajà kan kò lè rí adìẹ rà nítorí pé owó tí ó wà lọ́wọ́ wọn kò ká nǹkan tí wọ́n fẹ́ rà. bákan náà ní àwọn ibùdókọ̀ lọ́wọ́wọ́ ni ẹsẹ̀ kò dábílẹ̀ bí àwọn èèyàn ṣe ń lọ tí wọ́n ń bọ̀ láti ìpínlẹ̀ kan lọ sí ìpínlẹ̀ mìíràn. àwọn ènìyàn tí wọ́n bá ikọ̀ Nta Abeokuta sọ̀rọ̀ wọ́n rọ àwọn ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà pàápàá jùlọ àwọn ẹlẹ́sìn ìgbàgbọ́ láti ṣe pẹ̀lẹ́kùtù tí wọ́n bá ń ṣe ayẹyẹ ọdún Kérésìmesì kí wọ́n sì rí pé ẹ̀kọ́ tí ìbí Jésù fi kọ́ ni ó ń jẹyọ nínú gbogbo tí wọ́n bá ń ṣe nínú ayé wọn. tó ìròyìn wọn ní àṣálẹ́ kò ní jù báyìí lọ ẹ pàdé wa lé àṣálẹ́ là fún àkójọpọ̀ rẹ̀ lọ́tùn Anthony Ganoni ti wà níkàlẹ̀ láti ṣe àtúpalẹ̀ rẹ̀ fún lédè Ògùn ó dìgbà. Kudu asombi kan ní Clemson television hall Nta Abeokuta kan mẹ́rin tó mi lè jẹ́ nínú ìtàn ọ̀yà tó nìkan dúnú. nǹkan tó òsín tó họ̀dà hó àìtẹ́ ìtàn Yakubu Dogara rẹ̀ ní sílẹ̀ kó sáwọn náà Nàìjíríà ti ń fi lẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ yìí onímọ̀rọ̀ yìí dó gbígbọ́ dé òjìrẹ́ hẹ̀ ní ní tètò dé fi ètò kẹrin ẹni wọ̀n iná dídó náà kú ní kó tó gbẹ̀tọ́ pọ̀ nípò tó hò ní odó tó ní náà Nàìjíríà ti ń fi lẹ̀ dógbòn dé jẹ dandan jídó náà yẹn tó nà sátátán tó dẹ híhó mẹ́ kótó àyítìn mẹ kótó àyítìn epo nǹkan tó òsín tó hó ọlọ́tàn hó ẹ̀mí síbẹ̀ wá dó àyè ègò gbọdọ̀ wọ́n iná dídó náà kúrò ní kótó gbẹ̀tọ́ pọ̀ nípò eyín òǹdòpó he zanbọ Jésù Kristi tó wà yìí hàn tó mẹ eye wẹsọ yín òǹhẹ wẹzọ bọdọ àhọgbẹtọ sún kan nù gbẹnu Yakubu Dogara ẹ̀mí síbẹ̀ wá dọ̀ǹdó Kristi ìsìnlẹ̀ dọ̀ yìí ní kótó àyà jíjẹ okùn ìjìjì sàn Jésù Kristi tán ètò ìwúwà yìí hẹ́nà wà yìí ní tó sọ bó sọ wá náà yìí dọ̀ náà yìí nínú dọ̀ yìí nínú zan wà lọ inú dó wọn iná hìyà náà hàtọ̀ yìí tán wọn lò pé ẹ̀mí wà yìí tán kótó gbẹ̀tọ̀ dé wòmọ́ nǹkan tán lẹ́ẹ̀bí pé eyín òun hẹ́nà dó hìyà hẹ́nà nù dó hìyà òun iná náà ní má òun dó pépé hìyà rẹ̀ sún dó náà gbẹ̀tọ̀ eyín wà mí náà hìmà sọ́ dòmí dé tó tó mẹ́ lẹ́ẹ̀mẹ́bí. Ponaganda hó àìtí tán ẹ̀mí Ibrahim Idris wẹ̀ ní sẹ́dọ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ sọ́ọ́ dègbè dọ́nà yìí ní bẹ́ẹ̀ pò náà zọ́ sí lẹ́ẹ̀bí bó sọ máa yìí dó òtẹ̀n àdódó kódó òtẹ̀n délẹ̀mí kótó àyítí ìmẹ̀nà tó mọ̀dọ̀ yìgọ̀ ó tó àlọ́sán dó hebi sí pó tí iná gbẹ̀tọ́ kódó àgbọ̀n Nàìjíríà yìí ti ń fílẹ̀ tán pó tó jìjì sàn Jésù Kristi san sípò ní kódó òkò yẹyọ sí àyà jíjẹ tán pó tó kàn tán déhè mi òkó ìdọ̀tọ́ náà ponu zánpá àyítí tán ẹni Jimoh Moshood dó àlọ́ mi dègbè náà mẹ́yìn àlọ́gọ́tọ́ ponagán tán lẹ́ẹ̀bí kódó ponagán he tí ń tó àyè martin lòpòrò pómi lẹ́ẹ̀bí pó dọ́nà yìí ní mọ̀dọ̀ yìí tí ń tó àṣejì bó sọ máa àsánsì yìí tán lẹ́ẹ̀bí do te he me yesinga yemodo hon wusi ohono jotelebi na tomodo yedepo buso bule na blebu ene hon wusi ohoto aitene buso modo yena be me yin asonsi yetan le yin soto tuduru pe gun ari oji na tomodo yena doko na de gbeto sudo buso modo fide yin sisin sin otele mi to aitene lebi bodo flexi du telebi poto aitene wonya lo shondo gona oluwo yin tomeni to vivim si òní eyín gbẹ̀tọ́ dátì tó tan kódó àhọ́dù tán lẹ́bìípó tó ààyè tẹ̀ mẹ́. Lílẹ̀ dàgbé iná gbẹ̀tọ́ he eyín àsúkúdó kódó mẹ̀ máa sọ tìǹtò àsúkú he sọ jìfì lẹ́bìípó kódó gbẹ̀tọ́ wà nínú lọ́bì he sọ gbẹ̀tọ́ fò ìkànkó lẹ́ẹ̀kan he tó ààyè má tẹ̀ mẹ́ tó dìfì ẹ̀ nàdómọ̀dọ̀ yìí bá sí àyà jìjẹ òkè jìjìsán Jésù Kristi tán ṣùgbọ́n yìí máa dó òmùdúdú tó àlọ́mẹ̀ tàbí tó ọmọ lẹ́bi bó máa sọ́dún àfọ̀yẹ́yọ́ lẹ́bi pó sí ìrìn ẹ̀kọ́ sọ́wọ́ wá náà dàgbé tó dì fíètò Abẹ́òkúta tó mẹ́fìlì ní ehe wẹ̀ ní sèdò ẹ̀ wá sọ́nà ẹ̀yìn òwò ẹ̀dátọ́ òkìtọ́lá Sam Ọbalẹ́yẹ ẹ̀yìn dótétọ́ ògbẹ́ èyí tó hi àdọ́ ẹ̀yìn tó wá foundation tán ìrìn yìí tọ̀ mí tán èyí gígọ́ ìrìn lọ́tàn wá gbọ́dọ̀ títọ́ ẹ̀ ní sèdò ẹ̀yìn dídóté sọ́n àlọ́ ẹ̀gbá fíjìjì eyín wàmù eyín gbẹ̀tọ́nù kúndàgbẹ̀nà kó sọ́nà gbọ́ àlọ́ náà gbẹ̀tọ́lẹ̀ nà tó mọ̀dọ̀ yín sílẹ̀ eyín mẹ̀ẹ́dọ́mù dúdú èjẹ̀dọ̀ yìí ní dótó fọmẹ̀ kó sọ́ jàyà tó dó òfìyè tán lẹ́pọ̀ tó òpó jìjì òpó ìyá jẹjẹ Jésù Kristi tán sí àsànjì mẹ̀sílẹ̀ nínú màsí gángan tó gbé mi kí mi sọ pé tòmáwò sí nǹkan mi tó sọ ìjà náà kí gọ́ọ̀lù lọ́tàn lẹ́fọ̀ mi dọ́dàgbé.
Thank you.